Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Safris Nur Salam and I'm gonna do my presentation about new comparative literature as a theory and method. So let's get right to it. Comparative literature in the eye of expert. Elham Sahin, 2016, in his article on comparative literature, stated comparative literature is a study of the literary text written in the different languages by the most common and simple meaning, such that his mean a study behind linguistic, literary, and cultural boundaries. In the words of Ren Welleck, comparative literature as study of the relationship between two or more literature has been interpreted widely of so widely or misinterpreted so much, and the term has been changed and developed so so from early decades of 19th century to present. In one sense, the comparative literature embraces comparative cultural studies that have borrowed some elements, theories, and methods from comparative literature. Totosi de Zepenek argues in his article from comparative literature toward comparative cultural studies. He describes comparative cultural studies as an approach with three areas of theoretical content: to study literature, text on or literary system within and in the context of culture, and the discipline of cultural studies. In cultural studies itself, to study literature, we borrow elements, theories, and methods from comparative literature. To study culture and its composite parts and aspects in the mode of the proposed comparative cultural studies approach instead of the currently regaining single language approach dealing with the topic with regard to its nature and problematics in one culture only. Comparative literature or the comparative studies of others' literature, languages, and cultures behind the boundaries, literary studies with comparative cultural approaches to the other culture as well as the other languages and literature make numerous contributions on literary studies. Literary criticism and theory, the literary history, translation, area studies, and global studies is the result of the context of literature and the interaction of local or national literature with other national literatures. For instance, when we compare English poets or novelists to each other, we learn some things about English literature. But when we compare English literature to French literature, American, Russian, or Turkish literature, we make comparative literature. In that case, aspect parallels, similarities, or development of English and Turkish poets of 19th century may be compared and contrasted by comparative literature or comparative cultural approaches. What comparative literature means today is very different from previous discourses in global contexts. Cultural studies take us on reconsideration or redefinition of the term of comparative literature. Today, boundaries of comparative literature have been expanded by comparative cultural studies. We may have some things to learn or know progress, methods, and approaches of comparative literature by means of theoretical and practical applied books I mentioned about the other books, however. It can be said that we understand neither its theory and practices nor contributions. Researchers who study literature of other nations to local literature notice similarities, differences, and developments of the languages, literatures, and cultures of two or more nations by comparative approaches, and she or he will find out common themes of literary texts of different nations. Thus, a comparative will have a chance to know their influences of the text or writers on each other's by means of comparative literature. One of the most common errors in the study of comparative literature in theory and practice is mistake that the writers and the works of literature of a nation could be examined in the light of the science of comparative literature. Each nation may compare its own writers or literary works with each other's, but this is not a comparative literature. This work is a comparative development of that nation's literature. It is progressive and historical study of the products of a national or local literature. If you want to make a comparative literature or comparative study, we have to compare two or more literatures of the different nation or languages, tradition, and cultures. Thank you, and that's all about my presentation.